And as we're driving in, it's eerie. And what the Mooj would do is they would light tires on fire. And so you're rolling into town, it's black smoke everywhere. There's fires burning. Very, very eerie as we roll in. And I already have my sniper elements had inserted at this point. And they were inserting on the mine clearance vehicles. So it's a pretty sneaky little operation. The mine clearance vehicle goes by, it stops to clear a mine, but then some SEALs get out of the back and go set up an overwatch position. Very cool. So they're in position. The one by the soccer stadium is in position. The other group gets in their spot, and the building that they had selected was not the way it looked like it was going to look on paper, or the way it looked on the overhead imagery. They didn't have a good view of this long axis road that was going to be utilized for the clearance, which was bad because it was going to get cleared, and then it would be hours before the op started, and now we'd have possible IEDs getting reseated. That's a problem. Didn't want that to happen. So that element decided to move. And now there's a lot of time compression. The sun's starting to come up. And we're like, as they realize the sun's coming up, they're like, oh, we don't have good visibility of the road that we need. That's their commander's intent, is to watch this road. They can't see the road. They decide to move. As they move, they go into a building that is just outside the limit of advance. And I'm sorry for civilians that I'm talking in military jargon, but there's a point where the clearance operation was supposed to stop. And so they're on the other side of, it's a road. It's like, okay, the clearance operation, they will not go past this road. So now, as things start to develop, I've got my guys, my sniper element over by the soccer stadium, they're starting to engage enemy. The SEALs that are pushing through, they're starting to experience resistance, and they're starting to engage. With my little element starting to engage. So there's a lot of enemy fighters out there. And at some point, one of the Iraqi elements, which I don't know why they did this, or I did not know, no one knew that they were going to do this. They had decided that they were going to set their own cordon around the area that was being cleared. So by themselves, they ran from where the clearance was taking place all the way to the limit of advance road, and they went across it to enter the building and set up an overwatch position for themselves. That's where my guys were. So one of my guys, and again, there's so many little details that go into this, but we had seen, they give us intel pictures, and the intel pictures have body armor and helmets and AK-47s and chocolate chip camis that the enemy has. So we know that the enemy can be wearing body armor, chocolate chip camis, helmets, and we know they carry AK-47s. So one of my guys is in that overwatch, and they're looking out the bottom floor, and they see a guy with an AK-47. Again, it's like not quite nods time. It's the worst time of day, dude. Mm-hmm. And the guy sees a guy with an AK-47 maneuvering through the courtyard, which they had zip tied the courtyard shut. So this guy had actively entered the courtyard and was now maneuvering, and my guy shot him. Obviously, looking back, this was one of those Iraqi soldiers that had run up there. So now, him and his Iraqi soldiers, and there was a small Marine element that had gone with us, an Anglico element, had gone with these guys, because the job of the Anglico is to keep track of the frontline trace of where friendly forces are. So they see these Iraqi soldiers run off, and they followed them because they're freaking awesome Marines, and they're doing their job. So now they get up to where this guy is, where this small element is, and they're like, what's going on? They're like, hey, broken English, the whole 9 yards. One of our guys went in that compound. He got shot. And so then what do? They all start shooting. So what we end up with, now we're entering the blue on blue. This is a blue on blue happening. And as my guys in the overwatch position are now returning fire at the Iraqis that are dumping down rounds trying to get their guy out of the courtyard. The Iraqis call for the QRF. So now a QRF launches to go down, and it gets to that corner. 50 caliber machine gun puts it on the overwatch, my overwatch position. And again, this overwatch position is Iraqi soldiers and SEALs, and starts engaging with 50 cal into this overwatch position. As this is happening, now my guys call the heavy QRF, which is tanks. And as this happens, I look at the company commander, Joe Claiborne. I'm like, hey, those are my guys calling QRF. Let's go. Like, follow these tanks down there. Roger that. So we kind of break contact over here, and we pull out onto that main road. Farouk Way is what it was called. And as we're driving down this road, I'm looking and I see the tank, and I see red smoke, which is what we use for emergencies. And I see the tank, and I just, as soon as I looked around, I didn't know exactly what was going on, but I knew something. My gut instinct was telling me there's something is wrong. So I get out of the Humvee, and I'm with my SEA, who's a great dude. And I look, and I see the gunny sergeant from Anglico. And I'm like, well, what's happening? And he goes, there's Mooj in that building right there. He goes, he's like, we're going to call for fire. Like, we got to take him out. I'm like, okay, stand by. Cause I didn't feel comfortable. And, looked at my, like, SEA, gave him like the head nod, and he like gave me the squeeze, and I started walking up. And as I'm walking up to this compound, I see a white on the ground, on the door. I see a white zip tie. And I'm like, my guys are in here. And I kicked the door open. And when I kicked the door open, I saw Platoon Chief Tony Fratty standing there. And he's like stoked to see me because they called the QRF. He's thinking I'm the QRF. And I go, what happened? And he said, hey, guy was coming through the courtyard. We engaged him, and then they brought it. And I looked at him. I said, it was a blue on blue. And he looked at me like totally confused. And he said, can we get the guys out of here? I said, yeah. And we had a 113 was down there as a Casevac already. So got the SEALs and the Iraqi soldiers that were in there, put them in the 113 to get them out of there. And Tony stayed with me because Tony's like, there's a reason why I said Tony's like top of the list, because Tony just got 150 rounds shot at him through a 50 cal. By the way, one of my other guys, Matt Hasby, he got fragged in the face. He was had so accepted his death. It was wild. But Tony, through all that, was just like, hey, I'm staying with you, boss. I'm like, check.